So I just wanted to, or we wanted to basically take some time to just talk a little bit about our journey, because it's not something we really talk too much about. And it's easy to kind of look from the outside, and we get these comments every so often talking about how easy we make it look. But it really has been a journey. It's taken us every single one of these years to get to where we are. And I think there's some interesting lessons kind of along the way. So let's get into it. So Michelle and I both started off, I'm just going to stop my share here for a second. We both started off as mechanical engineers in the oil and gas industry. And I actually think traveling around the world was your idea originally. And as a result of our conversations, I ended up getting Jeff Lawton's video in my inbox one of these days, one of the days that I was working, getting ready to take down a massive swath of trees to bring in a new gas pipeline. And after watching Greening the Desert, I remember calling Michelle and saying, you know what, we should do the traveling thing, but let's consciously choose where we're going to go, and let's use those resources to better ourselves, to learn about how to make the planet a better place. Because the narrative in the oil and gas industry was that we were always going to use oil and gas. There's no other alternatives. And the world was just going to kind of continue on that path forever. And in parallel, I was learning about things like peak oil and resource constraints. And so all the things that I was focusing on, that we were focusing on our career, were, in my opinion, at that time, were coming to an end. And there's definitely those signs continue to show themselves as we kind of work through this year right now. And so we sold everything we had, a lot of things that we had. We put our money into a couple of interesting investments, namely a 1983 Volkswagen Westphalia van that I carefully chose because, let's see if I can get this to go. It was the only diesel van I could find in Canada. And I thought I was getting a great deal on this thing. I paid $5,000 for this van. We repainted it, and I converted it to run on veg oil. And in fact, that back little box right there was where all of my veg oil pumping equipment was. And so we would. So
for anybody not familiar with running a diesel on veg oil.
Yeah, you can run a diesel engine on vegetable oil. Vegetable oil has a similar energy density to diesel. In fact, who was talking about it yesterday? Man, I haven't had enough coffee this morning. Anyhow, we wanted to basically drive through North America and look for these sustainable solutions in this van. And so we lived in here for 6 months. We spent another 6 months in Denmark at a renewable energy institute called the Folk Center. And everywhere we went, we started to realize that the narratives that we were being told in the oil and gas industry were just one story out of many, many stories. And in fact, there were much more positive and hopeful stories around the planet. And eventually, as a result of all of our travels, we traveled to Denmark and Europe and Mexico and Canada, and the United States, Australia, Africa. We realized that we could probably repower the world, that we could probably overcome peak oil, but how we feed the world, how we deal with our waste issues, that was a far harder, more wicked problem to deal with. And that's where we stumbled upon permaculture. And so here's just a couple of shots from our Mexico trip. We would find these random locations on the side of the road and set up shop basically. And we woofed at a lot of farms. It was such an amazing time. And it's easy to kind of want to jump straight into getting a farm, but having those years, I don't know, do you want to speak to some of those experiences?
Now you're putting me on the spot.
Yeah, well, it's your life too. It's all right. They'll come up, they'll bubble up from her as we go through this. But we ended up on farms all over the place and learned kind of what we wanted and what we didn't want. Finally, kind of stopping in at the Bullocks farm on the way home, which is in Seattle or Washington on the West Coast, taking our PDC. And that was kind of the end. That was the beginning of the end, essentially. We couldn't go back to the way that we were.
I'll tell a story now. I remember we were leaving our first permaculture design course on Orcas Island. that would be on the East Coast of the US.
West Coast.
Was the West Coast? Oh yeah, West Coast of the US. Sorry. And Rob said to me, "I'm going to teach permaculture design." And I kind of looked at him because we'd just taken this course. It's like, yeah, this is my life's work. This is what I want to do. And so it's really, I didn't believe him.